So this definition of analytics engineers, it comes directly from DBT. Now DBT are known as data build tool, and they are literally the forerunners of analytics engineering. They are the company that has been pushing for this role, that has been exposing this role more than any other company. So this definition here is from their website itself. Now I had to refer to them because they are literally the ones that are pushing for this role, and it's better. Their words are obviously going to make more sense than any other way that I can put it. So at the first here, analytics engineering is a discipline focused on building robust, scalable data workflows, often bridging the gap between data engineering, infrastructure, and data analysis, which is insights. What is an analytics engineer? Rather, who is an analytics engineer? I don't know why they said that in English. Analytics engineers provide clean data sets to end users, modeling data in a way that empowers the end users to answer their own questions, while a data analyst spends their time analyzing the data. An analytics engineer spends their time transforming. Now, transforming is the major keyword here. That is what they spend their time mostly doing. Transforming, testing, deploying, and documenting data. Analytics engineers apply software engineering best practices like version control and continuous integration to the analytics code base. So let me explain that further. If you've used Power BI before as a data analyst, or you've been on the data engineering side, analytics engineers seeks to bridge those two together, right? So instead of data analysts having to build their own data models, having to build out their own models for analysis, they are meant to just focus on picking up the picking up the matrices and KPIs that are defined by analytics engineers. Picking it up, loading it into their BI tool like Power BI, Tableau, or Google Lookout Studio, and analyzing data. Now, that data set that they are picking, it is literally the responsibility of analytics engineers. We are to pick those data sets from multiple sources. Now, the keyword is mostly multiple sources and cloud platforms, because we are mostly working with, like I said, cloud platforms are what gave rise to this role itself. So without cloud platforms, it literally still won't exist. So pick from multiple sources, and these data sets will be stored into a platform like Google BigQuery or AWS Redshift or Snowflake. Now, please, if I'm too fast or you can't understand what I'm saying, please just call my attention and I will rephrase on whatever I've said that you can't understand. So, for data engineers, the difference between data engineers and analytics engineers is that data engineers build the infrastructure. So take for example, an app like Shopify, a software like Shopify. Now, whoever is building that platform from scratch, that they are designing the databases, they are designing how data moves and everything, it will literally be the responsibility of a data engineer, a software engineer, and building that foundation, that infrastructure, and building that infrastructure that others will use, right? And so after building that infrastructure, now they've built Shopify, an online selling platform or an online shop. You now have e-commerce owners, which are Shopify platform. They own their own Shopify stores. The Shopify store itself is an already existing infrastructure. Analytics engineers had no had no business with building out everything that went on with that platform. But say for example, an e-commerce store now has multiple Shopify stores, right? And he wants to make sense of this data in a unified platform. every day he can't be waking up and entering multiple stores, multiple portals or whatever, and say that those stores are also running in different countries. Different countries will have different currencies, different if possible sell different stores, different delivery platforms, and just a lot of different things all together. Now an analytics engineer will go inside this already built infrastructure, right? Sometimes depending on the company or whatever, they may call for the analytics engineer to build a light infrastructure, but that is primarily the role of a data engineer. So these engineers, they go in and they pick a lot of data from these multiple platforms, from these multiple existing infrastructure. So it could be Shopify, there could be databases, existing databases, Postgres databases, just a lot of, there could be portals, CRM platforms, ERP platforms, and a lot of these platforms, right? That large companies may already have data stored in multiple different locations. So they want to pull in this data into a unified platform. And the best solution for that is always a cloud platform, right? Cloud platforms are always going to be the unified solution for pulling in their data. Now, there are other on-site platforms for that, like Post. Okay, I don't know much about Postgres, but there's a difference. The reason why it's cloud is because it scales way higher than these local databases. So they pull in this data from multiple places into this centralized platform for them to now create models. Now, these models, let me check, go to the next slide. Okay, so this is from the DBT website itself. So if you look at the image, you see a DBT semantic layer. Now, from the raw data from multiple sites, right, it is being pulled into a centralized platform, which could be your BigQuery, which could be your Snowflake, which could be your AWS Redshift, or even Azure. So within this platform, you use a tool called DBT. So the tool itself is DBT, and the company is also called DBT, which is Data Build Tool. Within the cloud platform, you will perform transformations. So analytics engineering largely involves building transformation pipelines and managing data models. Now, our transformation pipeline starts from the source of the data, which is, in this example, is the Shopify stores. We ingest those data from the Shopify store into the cloud platform, from multiple Shopify stores into the cloud platforms. Now, as an analytics engineer, you go into those data. So these data are stored, they are firstly stored in the raw states in this platform, right? This raw state is not touched. You don't transform these states, you don't edit anything, you don't change any name. It is left there as a true as a source of contacts, as a true source of contacts for any time you want to make an audit or refer back to what you did, if there is an error or mistake online or mistake upstream with your data. So the raw data is stored in your cloud platform, and DBT is your transformation tool. DBT is literally SQL, right? Is literally I won't say an SQL wrapper, but it's built around SQL. So your fundamental of DBT is built around SQL. Now, DBT is a transformation tool which you use in transforming this raw data. Now, remember, the raw data is coming from multiple stores, multiple sources. But at the end users only want to know one thing, their KPIs, or the data or the information they are interested. So the information they could be interested could be revenue. You pick out this raw data, you make your transformation. These transformations are referred to as the semantic layer, right? Every transformation you do perform in using DBT is stored as a data model, and everything within that data model is referred to as your DBT semantic layer. Now, this semantic layer is what powers these BI tools, mostly your Power BI, your Google Looker Studio, so that this so that the BI users and the data analyst just goes in, refreshes their data, and pick these KPIs to make use of. If you've ever used a tool like Power BI, you notice that you mostly imported raw CSV. For those who have used it, I believe when I was looking through the forms, I saw a lot number of people have used Power BI. And the first thing you usually do is to import these CSV files into your Power BI. So the data modeling you perform in Power BI is literally the same principle that applies to this data transformation within your DBT semantic layer. The reason why it is done at this layer, at your cloud layer or the DBT semantic layer, is if you were to create that model in your BI tool, like data, like Power BI, it is only accessible to you as a user on that system. Like literally, I don't know if you've ever tried sharing your semantic layer, except through Microsoft's online platform. I believe they have their online platform for that, but even still, it's still limited. Also, it puts the modeling computation on your BI layer, which is not optimal as a data engine as an analytics engineer. So we are here to remove that transformation from your business intelligence layer and put it within your cloud platform, which is always referred to as your DBT semantic layer. So everything that involves renaming your columns, naming conventions, creating these KPIs in a particular way, um, doing your analysis there. You don't even do analysis. Rather, the business users, the end users are the ones that will tell you the KPIs they need, and you model these KPIs within your transformation layer. So please, before I move on, if there's any question anyone would like to ask, please, I'm open to take your question. No question. Okay, so let me move on. Now, what analytics engineering is not. This let me cast myself now. This point here are from ChatGPT, so I could not go and start searching clearly. I just told ChatGPT to give me these points, and I picked the most relevant ones to this class. So at the first place, it is not data engineering. So don't mix it up with data engineering. If data engineers were to pick up a cloud service provider, they'll probably be going through a lot of low level stuff, a lot of low level engineering with managing a number of things. So majorly, the only thing we use in cloud platforms, for example, I've used BigQuery, I've used GCP, which is Google Cloud provider, Google Cloud Service. You just go to down to BigQuery, right? The other services on in GCP, I have never touched them. You just go down to your BigQuery, and the only thing other than your BigQuery, the only thing you have to touch is your IAM services. That's IAM. So it helps with ensuring the right people access this information, and just not anybody can access this information access your data that is moving across these pipelines. So they don't provision cloud resources, managing cloud resources and all those things. Those are primarily data engineering. Managing VPCs and security policies, they are data engineering roles. They are much more low level responsibilities that are also for data engineers. Now, For BI development on the Power BI side, that is also not primarily an analytics engineer's role. That is primarily for data analysts and BI developers. But nonetheless, we still make use of BI tools like Power BI and Looker Studio. The reason for that is we have to test our models that we built. So remember that we are pushing up these models for them to consume. So you need to be able to test these models that you built on these BI tools. You built your models, now you import it into your Power BI and you test to make sure these models um, are providing the accurate information that is needed. You're not designing dashboards, you're not creating reports. It's not your duty as an analytics engineer. Just ensuring that the models are properly created. So next we have SQL. DBT is primarily SQL, but in this sense, if you were to open up, say something like Postgres or SQL Server, you probably just be doing some SQL queries and then pull out some analysis and then return it somewhere or create some reports with it. But primarily when you use DBT, you're literally saving these queries. You're storing them within your cloud provider and not writing them out, on the go like ad hoc analysis, and it's also not pure data analysis role. So like I said, we are supporting the data analysts, but we are not involved in creating insights for business users or for end users. That is the responsibility of a data analyst. So as always, before I move forward, any question from, please, but then again, are you guys still here? Can you hear me? Let me ensure that people are following me. So please, if you're following
I
me,
can hear you. I can hear you.
okay, thank you very much. So any questions so far from everyone on the in the meeting? Okay, Mr. Samuel, I can see, I'm just seeing this. So Mr. Samuel, do you have any question?
No, no, no. I don't have questions
Okay,
again. It was just me asking if the class was being recorded. And
okay,
I think the reason why we don't have questions yet is because we are still quite new to this. So
yeah,
I guess as time goes on and then maybe we begin hands-on learning, there will be a lot of questions.
okay. So I can also see Mr. Nathaniel.
Okay, so though I am still trying to make sense of, but like you said, maybe because it's what DBT is trying to. I'm trying to make sense of the conversation around analytics engineering, not being data engineering and not data analytics, because I know that some organizations in recent time they've had to marry both scenarios. Um, in some of these organizations where they get to maybe get a data analyst who has a data engineering experience rather than maybe getting a data engineer and getting a data analyst. So things around data for reporting, the orchestration flow are being handled by um, somebody who's maybe a data analyst but also has an understanding of data engineering. So I don't know why it is being separated from analytics engineering though, because I don't know, maybe because DBT is just trying to push it as a career path on its own. Maybe that's why it's being separated. But I would have thought that it was a combination of both in the same space.
Okay, so I'll put up something from DBT right now. Let me find the article. I hope I find it quick. Just hold on a minute. Okay, so
It's
this,
okay. Is the session being recorded?
yes, it
Of
is.
subnet field. And now within this subnet is going to make.
So this is an article from, honestly, DBT. They have most. If you want to learn anything from there, you just go to their website. They have very detailed information of anything you want to learn. So this is an article from DBT themselves, and I'm looking for somewhere where they said that most of the roles some people perform are literally analytics engineering. It's just that most times, even they that are doing it have no idea that it is what should be referred to as, like, in this modern day and age, because we all know roles come and roles go, right? The reason why, like I said, the reason why this role became a very big deal nowadays is because of cloud data warehouses, right? They are the primary reasons for this. And if I were to distinguish data engineers for you clearly, is, imagine you want to build an app, right? You will need a data engineer because you're going to get the users information. You're going to build a pipeline that is going to make sure those information gets to the right places to be processed in the right way. you know Even sometimes is as much as real-time processing. Now, but for analytics engineers and data engineers, they're expensive. I don't think the cost of, or the what's someone wants I'm coming someone wants to join the call. I don't think the what people pay for analytics engineers might be that of a data engineer. But say for example, like I said, I'll always refer to e-commerce stores because they are the most simple example I can give here. Now, if you run an e-commerce business, you most likely don't want to hire a data engineer because that complicates your you don't want to deal with that complexity in your hiring process, right? Data engineers will deal with much more technical and low level pipeline engineering. So if a bank wants to build a pipeline to process their millions of transactions of um, money going here and there, they'll most likely get a data engineer for that particular thing. On the part where you said data analysts also build, because yes, we all know that these roles gets blurred out and gets mixed. So here you see, okay, so this is a clear example now. If all companies were to be true to themselves, right, and said, hey, you be a data analyst, you be a data engineer, nobody, you will not be doing another person's work. If you're doing another person's work, they'll have to pay you for it straight up. But unfortunately, those who control the money have the power, so they can tell you to do this, and you mellow and you do it. So here, a data engineer builds custom data integrations, right? Manage overall pipeline orchestration. Please, over time, as you even get to work on this, if you're interested in working in a more practical setup, you get to understand how analytics engineers differ. And just to put it out there, analysis the barrier to entry. If you're a technical person, I left data analysis because it was more of businessy talk. They're telling you to do PowerPoint and shift everything to Excel. I just wanted to go to an engineering part where you're building something. So analytics engineering is where you're building, but you're not as deep as technical as data engineers. That is your clear line here. Now, sometimes the lines may still blur. So data engineers manage overall pipeline orchestration. They develop and deploy machine learning, all this one are extra stuff. Build and maintain the data platform, which is very important. Data warehouse performance optimizations. So all these low level stuffs in the data pipelines, from And the example is the financial company I spoke of. They want to build this pipeline that saves their companies, save their users, their customers' data, process transactions, ensure everything moves timely at the lowest level, most times even at real time, right? A data engineer will be called to build these things bit by bit. For analytics engineer, right, we want to provide we want to provide ready we want to provide, let me say, ready-made data sets. We want to provide ready-made data for the end users. The end users are data analysts. If you've used, I will always say it, if you've used Power BI before, you saw that you had to import CSV into your Power BI desktop. You had to start building out models, doing your relationships. That's not your problem if you're a data analyst. Your problem should be they give you data, you analyze it, and give insights. Who is responsible for giving you that proper data? The columns, everything has been named. It has been sourced from multiple places. It has been standardized. The data has been transformed. Who is responsible for that is an analytics engineer, which is why their major tool is DBT. DBT is a transformation tool, not building your pipeline, not building your infrastructure, not analyzing your data, but the transformation part of this pipeline, right? And if you know the difference between ETL and ELT, extract, transform, and load, and extract, load, transform. The analytics engineers, since we are major or since we are big on data warehouses, we mostly go through the ELT process. If you're doing ETL, then you're most likely a data engineer or something else, right? So you extract data, you load it directly into your data warehouse from multiple sources. It could be, for Praxis, it could be from one, but it is always from multiple sources. Let me go back to this e-commerce platform. An e-commerce store owns multiple platforms. Now note, this e-commerce store, they are not they are not a technical company. They won't hire a data engineer because they almost don't have need. If they don't know they need an analytics engineer, that's when they go ahead and start hiring data engineers. Now, analytics engineers majorly bridge this engineering and business aspect of things. We pick their raw data from multiple places. We create their transformation, we create their models according to how they need it on the business end, which is we transform it to their KPIs, to their necessary KPIs, and we manage those KPIs for them. Now, if I'm saying it, it might sound simple, but once you're working with, if I've not worked with one, so don't assume I have. If you're working with a company that have multiple dozens of KPIs to be transformed and to be maintained, right? That would be one person's role. That would be an analytics engineer's role. They will connect these multiple sources. They will pick out this data. I've picked out data from Shopify. The last project I did, it was a very hectic one. It gave me a lot of issues, but I successfully did that and picked out data from Shopify. I'll tell you true. That once it was even a dummy store I created on Shopify just for that project. You can use a Shopify dev store and create a dummy store and practice on. Just pulling data from that Shopify alone, you will see a lot of columns, right? A lot of Now these columns have a lot of features within them also. All these columns that you literally just pulled in have to be transformed so that the end users will make sense of it. A data analyst will not go and start pulling up. If you're doing CSV to Power BI, if you've done that project before, you imported your CSV, project your CSV file into Power BI and you were creating charts, feeling like a bad guy, right? If you pull in from Shopify, it's a different ball game entirely. It's not 15 lines, or it's not 15 columns of CSV file, right? Then with hundreds of or 1,000 rows, right? It is way more than that, and the bulk of this data alone is why a particular role has to be created for this. If a data analyst is creating pipelines, it's mostly because it's a very light thing. Just pulling from here, and there are some columns that you do and you create. But when you have companies that have like dozens, if not hundreds, right, of these data points from different sources, you will need someone dedicated solely for that role, which is the analytics engineers. So, is there any question for now? Let me go back. Let me go back to my slide. So, any question for now, or I can keep on going? Okay, Mrs. Ajayi. Okay, she's gone. So let me continue.
Hello. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So I wanted asking, um, I noticed that you were talking about the data engineering, data analytics, and data analytics engineering. So where does a data scientist fall here? So that's what I want to know. Thank you.
Okay. Um, how do I want to answer that question? Right. So let me put it like this. What we're talking of was analytics engineering, but if you want to know where a data scientist come in, is I won't say it's not within here, but their role is entirely different, right? Their own role is somewhere away from here. They still work within the data role, but it's somewhere away from here. You can say they may come up within the data analyst side, so they have their data sets given to them. Let me use this. Let me use this for example. So over here, if you look at this top layer here, you see BI tools, embedded apps, AI, LLMs, notebooks. So they would be the end users of this data, right? They come above, like end users of data that have already been prepared and used. I don't know much about data science, so I can't say much about their own role. But I know they deal with machine learning and the likes, machine learning, AI and the likes. Creating machine learning models from data sets. So they come way above these guys.
Um, Building on the question she asked, sorry for interrupting. I wanted to ask that can a data scientist pivot to analytics engineering?
So as long as you build the skills, honestly, you can pivot into anything. Is it pivot or pivot? As long as you develop the skills, right, you can go into anything. You can transition into anything. Now, for if you're a data scientist, I believe you use Python a lot. You use Python a lot here also. I don't know if you use SQL. I think SQL is foundational for all data guys. SQL. So let me put it for this role, your foundation is Python and SQL. That is your foundation. As long as you're good in those two, you can move ahead with this, right? So if you're not familiar with those two and you're interested in this, those are what you have to start building: Python and SQL. Python and SQL. Everything above that, all this DBT, cloud warehouse, they use SQL or Python. DBT, like I said, is built around SQL. If you're if you're querying data from a data warehouse, you use SQL. If you're building an orchestration, automation in Airflow, this data orchestration part, you're using Python. It primarily uses Python. Your data warehouse uses SQL. So the reason why DBT here has a crown is that is the that is the primary, just every other thing here, ingesting your data. So these are platforms that are used within this role. There are other platforms. So at ingestion, you have Airbytes. There are other ones too, like Fivetran. Data warehouse, you have Google BigQuery, you have Snowflake, you have AWS, and you have Azure. For your BI tools, also you have Lucas Studio, Power BI, Tableau, and some other ones. Then data orchestration, the most standard one is Airflow. Honestly, I've not tried looking for another one, and I don't think I want to overload my brain with looking for another one. So Airflow is the most standard one. But if you're going into analysis engineer, don't bother too much with Airflow. It's more of a low level stuff, right? More of, hopefully, it's just like an additional skill, an additional tool that you can present that you know how to use, that will give you bonus points to whoever is looking to recruit you or hire you. But you can also learn that. But your primary tool here is this guy. So is DBT, nothing else, right? You need to learn how to transform data. You need to learn how to build semantic models. You need to learn how to design your data warehouse. So you're obviously going to design how your models will be stored in your data warehouse. So DBT paired with a data warehouse is your gold standard, is your go-to right here. Once you master those, once you learn those alongside with your Python and SQL as a foundation, you're good to go. I won't say you're good to go that recruiters start looking for it, but you have enough knowledge to sit down and properly speak like you know what you're doing with these two tools alone. So
Okay, can we also get the slides after the class?
no problem. I'll drop it on the group. In the group.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi Ben, good evening.
Hey, good evening.
Yeah, this is Sule. I was just informed that the meeting will end in 8 minutes. Are you sharing another link?
Yeah, I'll do that as soon as it ends. Please, if you're here, I was supposed to have rescheduled the meeting, but if you're here,
I think you should just use Meet now instead of scheduling the meeting.
that's what I'll do.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so thank you for the reminder.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we move forward, any further question, please ask. So if you have any misunderstanding or trying to get anything at all, right? Okay, so let's move on. I'm thinking I should just create a new meeting now before I start this. Okay, so before I start this, let me create a new meeting so that I can just continue from here. Is that okay with you guys? As soon as I create it, I'll share it on the group. Okay, so I'll be ending the meeting now.